Paul and Emma, a marriage in turmoil. Emma Blodgett comes from a large family. We learn from family stories that alcohol flowed freely on numerous occasions. The marriage to Alfred is apparently coming apart at the seams. So when Uncle Bill Blodgett comes to visit in 1897, they throw the few belongings of 13-year-old son Howard in the wagon, tell him to climb into the seat alongside of Bill, and send them off to find some farmers. In this video clip recorded in 1998, my father tells the story as he heard it from his father, Howard.
Probably the last, or the, I shouldn't say.
He's happy to be here.
Uncle Bill or Uncle Cal were driving a team of horses, and they met W.J. Hanchy on the Hanchy Road, right near the railroad, and Uncle Cal, or Bill, it must have been Bill Blodgett, said, "You want a kid?" And that's how he got to live with W.J. Hanchy. And I don't know what would have happened, because the background was liquor and drunkenness. Uncle Bill later came to live with us. Great big tall, 6'4", shoulders on him. When he'd stand in the doorway, he was as bald as an eagle. But he pretty well filled the doorway, both width and height. Of course, he was long past his prime then. And I remember he had a big sore on his neck, and my mom was very, very reluctant to let him use any towel that any of the children or them might come in contact with. But Uncle Bill had a background of drunkenness. And of course, when he lived with us, my dad was very, very, very strong prohibitionist. In fact, they had a prohibition party once. He ran for corner for corner. I can remember some of the little cards.
I never did either.
Of course, he didn't get many votes. But anyway, what I wanted to say about Bill, we had a lot of apple trees on that farm. A lot of fallen apples, and we'd pick them up and take them down to there was a cider mill on the old Summers Road. I don't know how many bushel. We must have taken 25, 30 bushel or more, because we had a whole 50-gallon wooden barrel of cider. And of course, somehow my dad got that down in the basement stair in the old Bones farm. It had a dirt floor. Oh. Just this dirt floor and brick walls. And later on, my dad says, "I can't understand where Bill can be getting a hold of some liquor. I can smell it on him. I can smell it on him." Finally, he went down to the basement one day, and this wooden barrel, the bung had been pulled out, and it was wet from the bung over. And of course, by that time, the cider was no longer sweet cider. It was potent, and he would drink that.
So now, who was Bill?
He was a brother to my Grandma Horner.
They found the farmers, and when they did, and as my father relates, Bill asked the assembly, "Anybody want a kid?" By a miracle of God, a kind, gentle, but tough, smart as a whip farmer says he does. And Howard is gone from the Alfred Horner home. Not gone from his life, just gone from his home. And William J. Hanchy takes the young lad into his home, where he is treated as one of the family. The U.S. Census of 1900 and the Wisconsin Census of 1905 name him as a servant in the Hanchy household, but from his own accounts, he was treated more like a son. W.J., as he is known far and wide, sends him off to Cincinnati Bible School for some additional education. There, he is converted to the Wesleyan brand of Christianity the Hanchys follow, and Howard embraces that faith for the rest of his life. For more of this story, go back to my account of the Horners on Disc 1 of my Life series. The impact of the Hanchy years on Howard and his descendants cannot be overstated. William McKinley is president and will be re-elected the same year the census of 1900 is taken. From that record, we learn tidbits about my great-grandfather Alfred at the turn of the century. He has moved to Kenosha and tells the census taker he is now an insurance agent, his fourth occupation. Only 3 people live in his household: Alfred, 42 years old, and his twin daughters, Myrtle and Hazel. The girls born in 1890 are 10 years old. Emma is not living with them. The dependent children are in the custody of their father. He tells the census taker he was married 17 years, which indicates a 1899 divorce. My father, in his accounts, suggests both as drunks. Other descendants of Al do not hesitate to name Emma as the alcoholic responsible for the breakup of the marriage. I am inclined to go with Emma and her family as major culprits, since great-grandfather Alfred has custody of the twins. Not easy for a father to gain custody, especially then. And there are no subsequent reports of alcohol as a problem with him. And as far as I know, there is little contact between the family and Emma after. I do not recall a single instance where my grandfather Howard had his mother Emma as a guest. I could be wrong about that because Emma died in 1934 when I was only 5. She did live with my parents briefly in what had to be 1933. Meanwhile, in 1900, Alfred's mother Harriet still lives on in the family home at 1212 9th Street in Racine. She dies at the age of 68 in 1902. She, his only wife, is buried in grave 9 of the family plot in Mound Cemetery beside her only husband, Richard Alfred Horner. The monument, or at least the concrete slab, still stands atop Lot 8. We also learn Al is no longer a basket maker or trolley man. He says he is an insurance agent, again another occupation. Doesn't say what kind, but in the census that the state of Wisconsin takes in 1905, he tells the taker that he is a life insurance agent. He is also back in Racine. In that same census, 21-year-old Howard remains a servant in the Will Hanchy household, but is in the process of setting off on his own. The Racine City Directory has him living on Washington Avenue with his father Alfred already in 1904. Before establishing his own farm, he takes jobs in Racine as a teamster and delivery man for American Express. But dirt has gotten under his fingernails working for W.J. Hanchy, turning soil in the early spring, watching his planted seeds sprout and flourish in the summer sun, bringing in the harvest, has spoiled him for city life. In just a few years, he will make an arrangement to be a tenant on the Bones farm on Lathrop Avenue. He will become a truck farmer, a vocation 3 generations of Horners will follow. And in 1903, the Wright brothers launched the first powered aircraft. Nearly 200 miles to the north, John Forrest Horner has become a farmer in Juneau County in central Wisconsin. Remember him? Richard's brother, married to Martha, 27 years his junior. His daughter by his first wife, Susanna, married to Fred Gunther, and basket maker John Jr. are still living in Racine. The other child of first wife Mary Wainwright, John's Alfred, the last of the cutters, of the file cutters, has taken off for the West and settles in Tacoma, Washington. This John's Alfred had married in 1896, but we learn little of him other than what is subsequently recorded in the city directories of Racine and Tacoma. There is no further mention that I can find of his wife Catherine, born in 1866 in Wales, but this Alfred shows up annually from 1908 to 1921 in Washington State. His jobs are elevator operator and janitor mostly, with a short stint during World War I as a shipyard worker. Then he is gone from the records as well as from our story.